the city staff and members of city council, and 2, Texas Government Code 551.072, deliberations regarding real property. Okay, council.
And
Mr.
Mayor, I just request that you do it like 1A.
Okay.
On 1B, I would ask that no action be taken on those items because that was just legal discussion in regards to rights, duties, and consequences. So there is no reason to take action on 1B, but 1A and 2.
So council, on 1A, this one does require that we discuss any action to be taken, so I'll open it up for discussion, or do we, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Enough for discussion.
Okay. Council?
Discussion?
I have nothing to say.
Well, I would like to speak on it a little bit. I can understand why it's coming before council. You know, and to me, it hits a couple of things because I have brought forward issues and I have worked with staff. And the reason I say this is because I have brought items before council before that I end up standing alone on. And then you get I make a motion, you get no second, there's no movement on it. But aside from that, the standing alone part of it is I had staff working on issues and spending time on things that died. You know, so there's effort put in by staff as well in regards to the timing of all of this that goes back to saying how do we best utilize our time by our staff and ourselves in these meetings. I think that this will not only do that, but by having somebody to make a motion for you or make a second for you, it allows for movement, but above anything, we as a council are supposed to work together. This isn't my agenda item, but I feel strongly about the idea that by having to get a sponsor, we're making council become more unified. We're causing council to work together. There's no certain individual that has to get a sponsor. Every individual has to get a sponsor. Every individual has to work with somebody in order to move things forward. The old saying is it's always been around, is 2 heads are better than 1. And you know, one thing that I think that as a council we also need to look at, and it may be a separate resolution as opposed to this one, but I think that we need to look at the idea that nothing can be put on by a member of council on this agenda without a sponsor and backup. Because there's been times where an agenda item is put on and there's absolutely nothing backing it up. Then you come in here and they might get us one sheet of paper from a member of council and we're expected to know everything, but we have no idea what's going on. And in doing something where we're restricting what can be put on there, how it can be put on there, and saying that we as council have to do the work, it puts us in a spot not only to preach the sermon, but live the lifestyle too. And I think that you know, not only is this, you know, a situation where we need a sponsor, and I noticed that Mr. Molina did get a sponsor for this agenda item, but also we need to look at the backup, the information that goes to council in these packets and prepares not only the council but also staff for what's going to be coming on the agenda item in the meeting. So I see this as a twofold thing. One, the idea of a sponsorship, but 2, also that some kind of a backup from the council members is presented to the rest of the council so that the deliberation can happen properly, information can be handed out at a proper time, at a good time, and we can be able to make informed decisions.
Okay. Mr. Burke?
Yeah, it's not unusual, and this goes back a while in previous years, and it's not unusual for councils to adopt procedural guidelines, procedural rules, you know, and it depends on the council, et cetera, et cetera. In some places, it requires more than 2 people. In some places, only the city administrator, whoever that might be, whatever title they might have, is the only one that can put something on the agenda. So I see this as a real good in-between process, because at any time the city manager can do it, 2 members of governing body can do it. It doesn't even prevent 3 people from doing it. So there's a lot of options within the options. And it does assist efficiency. It does facilitate relationships within the council. And I think it's a positive step.
And I'm sorry, go back quick, if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
You know, this was a practice that was put in place a while back. I want to say that 2015, 2000, somewhere around there. It was right before I was on council, maybe in 2016, but right before I was on council, this was put in place. And it's just something that goes back into, again, facilitating that unity of council to work together so that something is presented as a team effort. But you know, one of the questions I asked downstairs of legal was, and I wanted to make this statement real quick, the fact that you need a sponsor does not remove any one member of council's ability to make an opening statement during public comments about something that they want to move forward. You just have to restrict how it is. There can be no discussion on it, but it can always be brought back. If I was to state something and another member of council was to say, hey, I want to sponsor that on the next agenda item, by me making the statement, I was able to get it to the public and actually warrant or acquire that need in order to actually start the discussion and get the ball rolling and moving things forward, because now we can work together as a team to move that item forward. So it doesn't limit us on what we can do in our meetings and actually voicing our opinion out here. So I wanted to make sure of that I can still use public comments if I can't get a sponsorship to actually make statements on things that I think we need to be moved forward. So again, sorry.
That's fine. Mrs. Bowen?
Yeah, the key thing here is unity, working together. I believe that we're up here for a reason, for a second term, for me. Our constituents, they're the reason why we're up here. And I believe that they saw in us unity, that we work very well together. Cynthia, this is not a second term in a sense, but you've been here before, so yeah. It's all about, supporting each other on major things that we feel that are very important for our citizens, and it's not all one-sided. It's something to support each other, but also to open discussion, to be there and not waste the staff's time or even anybody out there's time. So that's about it. It's all about unity to me, about working together. We have to work together.
I'm sorry, I have one more question in regards to the whole thing, if you don't mind. Sorry. Okay, if I present it to staff, this is something before we move forward, because we're discussing on how we can get it on there, right? If I present it to staff and I don't necessarily get, say I go to Councilman Burke and he says no, then I really can't go anywhere else, right? But if I go to staff and staff supports the idea, can they be my sponsorship? Can they be my second?
The city manager.
Mr.
That's
Bennett?
however you all want to do it, but the city manager can put things on the agenda regardless. I mean, that's not the way this was contemplated or the way this was written on the agenda.
But I mean, it's the conceptually, I just want to go through this whole thing and talk through everything. Or would I have to convince staff that they feel strongly enough that it becomes their issue?
Historically, what we would do in the past is we'd ask the city manager. I don't believe that you saw in my tenure on council agenda items named to council members, that everything went through the city manager. That a council member would contact the city manager, please put this on the agenda, and it would go on the agenda. So there's nothing in what you all have contemplated that is going to keep that. But again, it all depends on how the motion is made in regards to the item. So if you don't want to say if you want to allow for the city manager to pick it up and take it, then just be silent on it. If you don't want the city manager to be able to doubt it, then specifically say, I don't want the city manager to be able to pick up an agenda item from a city council member unless he still has unless that original person has an additional sponsor, unless there's 2 of them. or 3 of them, or 5 of them.
I think we have to leave it to him. I don't think we have to harass him, but I think we leave it to him on whether or not it's
It is
something that staff
discretion.
needs to feel strongly about to move on.
That would probably be
Okay.
best.
So just stick with it the way. Okay.
Any other questions?
Well, I think our citizens would like to know what we support. You know, we put something on the agenda, it's because we support that, we feel strongly about that. And, you know, we wouldn't bring it to the table unless we did, so.
Okay, so, I'd like to speak on this in reference to this, because the way I see it, our current ordinance allows every single one of y'all to place something on the agenda. There's nothing saying you cannot place something on the agenda. So to me, to have another person, you have to go out and have it placed on the agenda is in a hindrance, in a sense, to me. So right now, currently, it makes no sense to me why we would need a second person. I understand y'all say, oh, well, so that we could have unity. We have unity. We are a council. We are all council members. We work as one unit. You know, what my actions are reflect on this council. So bringing it on, now if there was an issue where I felt like, or someone said, you know what, this individual is out of control, they're placing so many items on the agenda, or it's irrational or detrimental, maybe. But you know what? We all represent our taxpayers and our constituents, our stakeholders out there, and they deserve to have a voice if they come to a council member with a concern and they want us to address that. Sometimes we've had where we have a constituent, we have taxpayers that come and voice something and say, can you please address this, look into this, bring it forth, and nothing. So I think limiting, in my opinion, this would limit an individual's voice. There's nothing right now in the current ordinance that restricts Ms. Bowen, Mr. Burke, Mr. Molina, or Mr. Chris, or myself from placing something on the agenda. It doesn't make sense to me why this is being brought forth. It makes no sense to me. We all have that opportunity to bring an agenda forth, so why the second? There's no need. We have other matters, other important matters that we have to address. To me, this is something we shouldn't even be wasting time on trying to put on the agenda and try to act on. There's no need to change that ordinance. That ordinance is functioning the way it should, unless you can tell me there's something else. Now, since I took office here, the items that I've placed on the agenda have not been but maybe 6 items. Today's agenda, I didn't have anything on there. None of these did I place on today's. I know, so I'm not sure what the reasoning is, but I'll tell you, it hinders, you're making a rule from this council forward. It's a hindrance. Any future council member that comes on and wishes to place something on the agenda, and let's say there's some kind of controversy with that person, it may make it more difficult to place an agenda item on here. And then the other thing that I'm concerned about, and maybe Mr. Lemon can kind of enlighten me on this, but there's the possibility of a walkie quorum. If I go to you and then you say, no, I don't want to sponsor that, and you discuss it with someone else, or, you know, or I ask him, he says no, and I have to go to another person, and then amongst yourselves, y'all, hey, did you know what she was talking about? Did you know what this? Oh, how did, you know? You can, I mean, I don't know, Mr. Lemon.
Well, and again, Mayor, you're not incorrect, but there's a possibility for walking quorum in regards to any situation.
Correct.
And that this council has been accused of things like that in the past, and correctly or incorrectly, and I know when you were a council member, accusations were made in those
Sure.
regards. And so with that, I'd say, well, you just have to use your best judgment. Two individuals, based on the way the charter is, wouldn't be a quorum.
No,
And so I think that they could say, yeah, I want to put it on the agenda, and in truth, as long as they are not discussing the merits, the specific, things that would go into deliberation,
Right.
I think it would be fine. Like, hey, I want to put it on there. Sure, I got no problem with that. The answer is yes, but a lot of things
Yeah.
could. And so it's just something that is, you're correct, it's something that we would need to pay attention to.
I just don't see the reasoning behind this and why we need to have this. We all have the right to put something on the agenda right now. So to me, if council would reconsider this, because all it is, in my opinion, is a hindrance, and I don't see a benefit to this. I don't see how it's gonna improve our effectiveness as a council and getting whatever the needs or concerns are for our citizens of Alice. If a citizen reaches, and each of us have been reached by a citizen that said, here's our concern, I think this is a hindrance because you don't know if you have conflict that you will be able to place this on the agenda. And it isolates the minority, you
But-
know?
But what this actually does is it gets, unity is neither here nor there. We as a council have been unified and we have been separated. In my opinion, what we're forming is we're forming a council that has to work together in order to move things forward.
You don't
If
need-
if
You don't need this to
but
work
if a-
together. We should be working together because we all represent the citizens of Alice. And we ran on that. We ran on transparency. We ran on
There's
representing.
nothing here that
But I'm
removes
saying that
transparency.
doesn't.
Right, there's
Because we
nothing
still
here.
have
But I'm
public
talking
open
about
comments.
unity also.
But
We all ran on representing the citizens of Alice. Putting this, making a second person sponsor doesn't change that. It doesn't make it more effective. It doesn't change it.
I
You
think
have that right.
I think it does make it more effective.
Right, I think so
Because
too.
now we're presenting and doing things that we know we have support on, that you can get double input before everything goes out, before it even hits an agenda, so that there's more information to be spread, so that when it comes to a vote, there's more there. There's
Right.
more substance. And there's nothing that can keep a council member from getting a phone call from a constituent and calling somebody else to get that help in advance.
Exactly.
That it may not even need to come to it because you find a solution in advance. Because there's ways of working this thing and keeping, again, my thing too is staff involvement in things that we can actually move. Warranting and getting that support in order to make sure something moves forward is all we're doing. I don't see this as a hindrance at all. I see
do.
this as a push to make things,
More productive.
yeah, I agree, yeah.
How
More
so?
productive.
How so? I mean, I just distinctly
No,
stated
but-
by having more people working towards a solution and coming to a council meeting with information and everything. There's nothing that keeps you from calling us and me from calling Ron or whoever to get the information on any one specific person's agenda item or subject matter in order to move something forward. There's nothing there. There is no hindrance. These are things that we're supposed to be doing anyway, that this will actually warrant us actually doing them.
It saves
You
time.
should- If you're gonna place something on the agenda, you should already have your information for, I
But
don't.
that hasn't, I'm not,
Doesn't always
and I'm not
happen.
talking about any of your items. I'm saying
But who's-
specifically in the past and things like that. So the thing is that we have seen things where a lot of work has been done by staff and nothing happens, or nothing has been done by council, and nothing is moving forward.
Right.
You're talking about this council? Because
I'm
I
talking
haven't
about
seen it.
This future, any councils moving things forward, and how much we involve staff and do everything. So that's why I do see this as being beneficial and not a hindrance. I wasn't necessarily for it back when it was removed initially, but that was one of the things that it was a push from the council of 17 that it was going to be removed right then and there, and that's, we move forward. And then, there was some blowback on that. So I don't see it as a hindrance. I see it as an improvement in production, not only with staff, but as council and these meetings as a whole.
I voiced my objection, and sounds like council already kind of.
Well, one of the main reasons is, look, everybody's sitting around here and it's already gonna be 9, I've been on the other side, even though I have the luxury of running my own business, but when somebody came up and said, hey, you gotta stay 3 more hours, and then these people gotta sit here and listen to just back and forth about something that gets no action, that's all we're trying to do. And, I applaud all these folks that come out here and work late, and some of them are hourly, and some of them are, they take time, everything costs money, and they're not here for our convenience. We're here to just take care of business and go. I mean, this sadly, but this is a boring business, and a lot of this is mundane. I mean, the insurance, presentation we had, we went through it over and over again, and it's a lot of information, and, a lot of people, some people are really concerned, some people are like, oh, well, but just the fact that we all came back and were reelected shows that people trust us and we want to do certain things, and I want to give back to my staff, or our staff, or your staff, and make sure that, hey, they're not here drug out till 9 o'clock every night, I mean, this was a busy one,
But this isn't, we're not here because of the, having 2 people sponsor an agenda item. We're here because we had agenda items we need to address. This is not because we need to sponsor. That's not gonna change your agenda.
If I ever have an issue, I go talk to Michael. Half the things I talk to him about, don't even see the agenda, don't even waste anybody's time. They don't spend any ink on it, they don't spend any paper. We don't spend 1 minute bringing it up, because he takes care of business, and they're not
So,
favors,
Mr.
they're just things that
Esparza,
need to be.
is there something that has been brought up that has wasted, or been placed on here that wastes your time that Mr. Molina is addressing?
That's a little bit of a loaded
That's
question
been
almost.
placed on the agenda?
On this agenda, or on any agendas?
Any agenda?
I mean, there's been, I think, what happens is, and I can see kind of where y'all are coming, because I've been on y'all side too. But from our part, if there's been single person agenda items, and if we kind of feel like, are they going to get traction or not? We have to make a judgment call from our end on the staff level.
And
How much time do we spend
shouldn't that be a
on it?
conversation you have with
Yeah.
that council member
Yeah.
and say, you know what, council member or mayor, the item you're proposing is, I think we can address it elsewhere or this way, or.
And that happens,
or-
sometimes whenever there's agenda items that somebody, talks about, hey, what about this, what about that? Because we have conversations from a staff level
I'm just
with
trying
council
to
members and mayors.
clarify
Yeah.
because it's being said, so I want to know if there is that.
It can, but now, what I expect, if a council member wants something on the agenda, if there's some research needs to be done, a lot of times it comes from the council member or the mayor that does some of the research. We'll do what we need to do to get information on there, but if it's real specific, we've got to decide where we're going to put our time. And, it'd be the difference between spending, an hour or an hour and a half, or, half a day on something.
Well, and I'll tell you, I appreciate having an agenda item or a book that is prepared and well-informed. And I'll tell you, there's times when I'm emailing and asking, are we going to have supplements? And we get none. So I'm not sure where this is going or why this is being brought up, because I've had times when I've had agenda items that aren't complete, and I've asked, hey, I think council deserves to have this because they need to review this ahead of time to be able to make a well-informed decision.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I'll tell you,
And-
I brought you items, and you and I have sat and
Yeah, we've talked
discussed.
about 'em.
And I'll tell you that I've been very respectful and said, you know what, I understand that, I get that. So I'm not sure how this changes that, or anyhow, but I just don't get it. It doesn't make sense. Because everyone can place something on the agenda right now without anything, and I don't see the point as to what someone is saying, that we're here so long because of discussions. This is the first time we've had a discussion on one item that's been brought up today, that we've sat here and had this,
No, we talk a lot. We talk a lot about,
you know?
yeah, we
But I'm
do
talking
talk about a lot of stuff.
about nothing, because the other items are other things that were important and make decisions, but I don't,
Yeah.
but anyhow.
The one thing I'd like to say too, Mayor, is that we don't, by doing this, we're not losing our public voice either.
No.
We have, 90% of these meetings are seldomly watched. And what's more paid attention to is social media. You know, nothing's gonna keep us from going on social media, nothing's gonna keep us, if we need to, from calling the newspaper about any item. But the other thing that we need to remember is, what would keep me from wanting to bring somebody else in if I get that phone call from a constituent? What would keep me from that? Why wouldn't I want to involve another council member in order to bring it forward? If you feel that strongly about it, somebody else probably will too. And there's.
It all depends. So, it all depends. We can play the devil's advocate on all of this. It could be where there's one individual council member that perhaps has all council that don't want to work with him or her. That changes things, you know? But anyhow, you may not agree, but I've seen it. I've seen it. So
I feel.
that's where I
Well,
come from.
I feel-
like, go ahead.
I feel that, and I hope I'm not stepping out of place or anything, but a scenario, if I was mayor, I would appreciate a council member, including me, because they're the decision makers, you know, including me on what their ideas are, what they're doing, and vice versa. I think it's important that we include our mayor on some of the stuff that we work on, and vice versa.
I
It's
would
all
feel honored to be
support.
included by her.
It's all support, support each other.
Well, I'll tell you, as a mayor, I would appreciate that, and that's what we are supposed to do, with or without this. And I'll tell you, as a mayor, I have told each and every one of you that my successes are your successes and my failures are your failures, and the vice versa. And I've always said that my door's open. So as mayor, I do honor each and every one of y'all and respect each and every one of y'all. And I have never disrespected you. And
I disagree.
you think I've
You
disrespected
went to the paper. You
What?
went and talked to the paper.
with,
Yes, you did. You went and talked to
Then
the
your
paper.
Facebook Live videos, there's things that were
I'm
said.
sorry.
But I don't want to get into that right now.
well, look, I'm gonna say, if we wanna, I don't know what you're talking about, the paper, but anyhow.
But, and the
Each
mayor,
of
I
us have
have
that.
reached out to you, and I will continue to, and I want to, even before the election, saying, hey, I want to work with you, we can work together. I think that's really what I want to try, that I want to see out of this thing is us working all together.
Exactly.
I want there to be involvement in
But
everybody.
I'm just saying, this doesn't
But
change.
I want to say,
We
I want
work
to, I would
together.
love, I haven't reached out to you because I haven't pushed a lot of agenda items, but I would love to get a call from you too and say, hey, Pete, let's do this together. And to be a part of that team also. And that's what we're trying to do here, is not only branch your direction, or that direction or this direction, but have it come out as well. And I want to work on the things that mean something to you. I'd like to be a part of it before it goes out. And that's all I'm asking for, is that we work all together in order to become more successful for everything that comes on the agenda. We can be successful. And nobody stands alone, and there is no martyrs in anything, because I've stood alone. And I go out and you just move on. You just move on. And I've stood alone in these situations. And, it's better if we have stuff that moves forward. And anything that warrants more conversation, the conversations happen, and then we can get everybody involved. That's really where I stand.
I'm gonna tell you, I'm telling y'all right now, whether this passes or not, I am still the mayor. I am still here to respect each and every one of y'all, and I expect the same from y'all. And Facebook Live or whatever, I don't know what y'all are talking about in reference to that, but I have been respectful to each and every one of y'all. And I expect it from this point on, because that's how we should perform as adults and as council members that represent the same body of constituents, taxpayers, and stakeholders. So regardless of how this goes, I ask all of y'all the same, and I will give the same to y'all,
Nothing.
okay? So, any other discussion, council? Mr. Burke?
No.
Mrs. Bowen?
No, thank you.
No. Mr. Molina?
Nope.
And
No, I'm,
Mr.
I,
Chris?
thank you, ma'am.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion on agenda item number 21A.
Mayor, I make a motion that we adopt an ordinance requiring items being placed on the agenda by city council members or the mayor be required to have the sponsorship of 2 members inclusive of the mayor.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, all opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, and on agenda item 21B, there was no action. Okay, and then agenda item 22 was strictly just for legal advice. Okay, so no action taken on that. Okay, we move on to agenda item number 21. Discuss, consider, and act upon 1, establishment, dissolution, division, and/or reorganization of Alice boards, commissions, and committees, and 2, appointments, reappointments, removal, and/or term clarifications of appointments, vacancies, and/or memberships of City of Alice boards, commissions, and committees, i.e. Board of Adjustments and Building Standards. And this is something I placed on the agenda. The staff they've prepared a spreadsheet, and y'all have condensed this from previous meetings. So what is being brought forth to y'all are the applicants that have decided that they would like to serve on any of these boards. So if you don't mind looking at those, and then hopefully we can start filling some of these to make some of these boards active or,
Can I make?
yes.
I'd just like to, oh, go ahead. No, I'd like to state that a lot of these applications, Mayor, if we look, even go back to last year, before the new boards and their bylaws were created. And what we've done is we've created new bylaws for some of these. And we've also, you have in front of you something that I think y'all worked on, and then I worked on a little bit also today, that has some more detailed information as far as the applications. What I'd like to do, because only 2 of the applications have been submitted since the new boards were actually created and their bylaws were done. So I'd really like to see the applications resubmitted, because some of these applications include boards that were dissolved. So I'd really like, I don't know if it'd be staff or us or what, to reach out to these individuals. It doesn't necessarily have to be this one. I gave it to y'all so that we can review it. It has updated information. It removes some of the boards that are gone and what have you. It changes up some of the questionnaires across the bottom, and it has just an acknowledgement on the bottom saying, hey, you're just as liable as a member as council is when you're on one of these boards. And then the last thing it has is the description, a very brief description of what each one of the listed boards
Okay.
does, so they can have a better idea of it. And we can get these people to resubmit so that we can actually fill these boards in. I think for everybody, with the exception of 2 people, we can actually hit them with an email with this application if they're good with it, and then they can request the new bylaws. I know that I had one person in particular that was on the last public recreation board that kind of passed on it after they saw the new bylaws, and they wasn't the same kind of situation in what
they
the public
thought.
rec board before thought it was and what the new one is. Because they're not far from the bylaws themselves being the same, except what people thought it wasn't what the bylaws and the ordinance had it, or the charter had it listed as. So I think that these people need to have a better idea of what they're signing up for, as opposed to now and 9 months ago.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see all of these people reapply, but I just want them to apply to know what they're applying for.
Yes.
Mr. Esparza, would you want that to be, would y'all reach out, or who?
Yes, we'll send an email to them. and
with
make
the
sure.
new application?
Well, I mean, I
There's
want
two.
us to review it or, and accept it
Yeah.
or not.
Yeah, go ahead, sorry. Speaking out of
Okay.
turn.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, but they need to finish.
I reviewed this application.
That's why we gotta send them out, just,
Okay,
you know, that's why I'm
so-
saying get staff to email.
I came in a
Ms.
little
Vaughn?
early today, and I reviewed this application, and I think you did an outstanding job on it, Mr. Chris. I like that you put the committees in alphabetical order. They're not in particular priority order. And I like that there's, that email address, but especially like the last page where you put a description for each committee. Because while they're filling out this application and they may not have that bylaws or attached to it, at least they know what they're signing up for. So I appreciate your time and effort on this, sir.
Well,
But they need to read the bylaws.
right, yeah, so they can get this and they can submit for more. But, you know,
Right,
this
submit for
was,
more.
my changes were just an adaptation of what staff had already worked on. And
Mm-hmm.
I think the mayor sat with Mike and Odie too and made some changes to it as well. So mine's just an
Good.
extension of the stuff that they had already done.
Good.
So,
Well, thank you all. I like it.
yes.
All right, Mr. Molina, anything else?
No, I don't have anything.
Mr. Brett?
No.
Okay. So, do we, Mr. Lemon on here is there something particular we have to do to accept this application or change it?
The staff can go ahead and accept that application. If you want to take council action to resolve that that's the application that they're going to use from now on, you could do that because of 21-2. You're going to take any act and consider an act upon appointments, reappointment, removal. And this generally it deals with appointments. But I think that if it's something that's been presented and you all have discussed it, if staff didn't have any objections, they could go ahead and use it. And then if you all have a problem and staff does not, you want to insist, you can put it up, but you could go ahead and do that right now.
Well, also, Mr. Lemon, it'll probably be a good thing that we do approve it or something of the sort, because there's old applications that are still out there, and I would hate for them to, by mistake, get an old one. And then you accept it because there's not an order saying that this is our application.
Well, if I may, John, if there's nothing that says we need an application, so if they require one, now, as of this point forward, we will need one,
There you go.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
that's, yeah.
Another thing I'd like to put out to council is this is just for, 7 of the 12 active ones. I think that there might be the need for an application just, let's say for like the appraisal district, a little bit separate, because what happens is people come in and they just want to throw their name in the hat when we have that meeting here on the day that we issue our this is the person that we want to nominate for the appraisal district, right? And then you have people who just throw their name in the hat, and I think it'd be good if there's some kind of a process so that we can know that person better, so that we can actually make an informed decision. So that might be something that we consider also, but this application would primarily only be for these 7, and the concept of it coming back at a later time in order to better understand the applicants that want to throw their name in the hat for other things, planning, not planning and zoning is on here, but for like I said, like the appraisal district, and then there's other boards that don't necessarily need an application because they're appointed by the mayor or staff, or they are the mayor or staff that are part of our boards. So just to keep that idea out there, but I think that Mike's right, is that if we limit ourselves to saying, hey, this is the application, now we've said we're, but I think the directive would be to staff is to say, this is the one we want you to use, but not say that this
Okay.
has to be the application.
Okay.
Okay, so I think Mike has a very good suggestion. It's just to pass a resolution requiring all applicants for positions on our city boards, commissions, committees to have to submit an application in a form as determined by the city manager or city administration.
I'd like to clarify that right now, there's nothing that we have that says officially we need an application to appoint somebody. I was just making a point to say that if you guys want to do that, you would have to resolve to do that. That way, it would be forced on an application process. I'm not saying that I'm for or against that. It's just for you guys to know how it works right now. If somebody wants to be on the board, they can call us, call somebody, tell us, email, and we can still bring it up. Now, we tell them there's an application, but there's nothing that says you have to fill that out. And it started a while back where it's like, well, yeah, it was just an idea to be able to get information from somebody and bring it forward. So it's how you guys want to move forward with it. And so if you do want to require it, like the attorney said, yeah, if you guys resolve to put this application into place, then if somebody says, how do I get on a board? Well, you must fill out an application first. So,
I'll speak to it since I kind of put the application together here recently. I feel like for these specific ones, I think an application is probably best suits because I don't know everybody. And if someone that Sandra knows, and Sandra says, hey, that's a great person, I don't know that person. At least give me a chance to find out more about them, you know what I mean? I think that an application would be best.
And
You know, a lot of cities require it too, when going through the application process in a lot of cities.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, it's nice to have this in front of us and have, you know, what they're involved in and what they do and, you know, who they are, and what their passion is, what they want to do. To actually see it on paper and have the time to kind of review it instead of somebody just coming up here and saying, this is what I want to do. You know, to get to know them as well on paper. And also keeping track of each individual is a good thing because you have this information that's very important, you know, the phone numbers, emails, you know, contact information. It's always good to have that in file.
And like you said, is that once this is filled out and we put somebody on a board, the citizens say, well, why do they put them on board? Well, you know, check out their application.
Exactly.
And you'll see the information as well because this becomes public record once they decide to apply for it.
Right.
So I feel like it's a good thing to have so that we know our volunteers.
Mr. Burke,
No, okay.
no questions?
Yeah, I agree. It just destroys the whole purpose of creating the application if you're not gonna abide by it.
No other discussion on this? I'll entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion to resolve, to form a resolution that requires the admittance of an application for the boards listed on the presented application.
Second.
Okay. So we have a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So. All right, agenda item number 22, hear and discuss presentation from Alice Fire Department Fire Chief Patrick Thomas regarding statistics for second quarter call for service.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Okay.
Just saying, hey, Chief.
Oh, okay. I thought you had a question already.
No, not yet.
Before you have the second quarter statistics for 2021, and I'm just going to go over some quick highlights of that. Basically, another increase in the amount of call volume. There's a couple reasons for that. There were a couple major storms that came through, major for us, that involved some flooding that increased the amount of call volume for that. We also, of course, you guys know, it's no secret that COVID has increased the amount of calls that we have to respond and assist EMS with. So I'm attributing the increases to those few things, and other than that, everything else is pretty close to the same as this same time last year, other than the increase in the amount of calls. You'll look at the increase in response times. There was a 22-second increase in the average response time, and what I'm attributing that to is, if you'll notice, we did a lot more mutual aid, and it is an average of a response time. So the further out we go, it's going to increase that average. So that's our statistics for this quarter. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Okay.
Wait a minute, I had a question. No, I'm just kidding.
Wow. Agenda item number 23, hear and discuss presentation from Alice Police Chief Eden Garcia regarding statistics for second quarter calls for service, arrest, and citation information within the city of Alice.
So we are really excited in where our department is heading. I can show you some highlights, but I'll let you, when you have the opportunity, for you to go through them and just take some time to really take a look at and see where we're going as a community, and I think
Yes.
that's important. But here's some things that I want you to look at. So as we look at our percentages, and so one of the things is property, and as we look at the quality of life, you know. So burglary habitation has decreased by 58% right now in our community. Burglary of a building has decreased by 45%. And burglary of vehicles has decreased by 77%.
That's great.
So, and if you're going to look at our numbers, especially our arrest numbers are going to be high for one quarter, and then all of a sudden you see this where it starts going down. And so we're trending in the right direction, and I still think there's a lot of good things yet to come. So the rest, I'll let you go through them, but one thing I'd like to highlight real quick for you is the Take Me Home program. So I put together and my staff and I have put together a question, an application for individuals in which I have set, I believe in your packet I put one in there for you to look at. So it's important that I want you to take a look at it, read it, and if there's anything that we could add to it, I'd really love your input on that, and that way you can take some time. And I believe it's going to look something. I'm sorry. It's going to look something like this. So this is your application, the Take Me Home program. Okay, and so it's a 2-page, and it's when you get a chance. I know it's in your packet because I put your packets together. So please take the time to really read them. Read the program, what the program's about. And give me your thoughts when you have a chance. Come by the office where we can meet here and let me know your true thoughts on this because it's really important. I've had several organizations that have reached out to me and they're really interested in being a part of this program, but I'd really like the input of my council for that. Also, we have the building checks. So that's something that we've already ordered them. They're in. So all buildings, we want to make sure that we're checking our buildings, making sure that as a business owners that your police department's at least checking our buildings, that we're going out there, we're doing our due diligence to make sure that these things exist. And I put one in there so you can have it. You can take it home, take a look at it, and do an inspection of it, and see if there's maybe something we can add to it. But when you do, and especially you that are business owners, when you go in there and you come to your door and you find these hanging, pretty neat, making sure that somebody's looking out for you.
Definitely.
And here are my highlights. In the last, Alice Police Department has highlights. So we did have our... Hey. I was thinking I was way ahead of you guys. So, highlights. So on Friday, we did have our U.S. Attorney come down from Corpus Christi. He did visit with us in our office. He did talk to us about some of the things that he'd like to see an improvement on, but one thing that really my staff and I really took the pleasure of listening and hearing is that he's seen a great improvement in our cases, and that's why they're here, and they want us to be more involved with the federal system. And so that was really, really, really awesome for us. And so I think we're trending in the right direction when I think about it. And as a group, the officers have done a really great job. Interdiction program started on 8/9 of 2021, so we do have an interdiction officer now full-time. That's all he's doing. So right now it's Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. He's out on the highway. So far, we just hit a case, $32,100 on the highway with a 2016 Buick that we are seizing. So it's going to take. We're starting small, but we're going to take off. I promise you. It just takes some time. I did meet with Sheriff Bueno. He gave us another Chevy Tahoe. So I thank him for that, and if ever you have a chance, you run across Sheriff Bueno, please thank him for what he's doing for us, because he's done a lot.
Yes.
And also, looking at our training, we did have intermediate crime scene investigation, and I think that's where you're starting to see an improvement not only on our reports, but also on our prosecution side. This is what they're finding. We're getting compliments back on how our cases are being sent to whether it's the district attorney's office, whether it's to the federal court system. So it's pretty cool. So we're really, really focusing on training. What other training can we expect? Photographing crime scene, very basic, but it's something that we need in our community. Report writing and fingerprinting. We need to know that our officers are doing everything they can to assist our community And also, new fingerprint kits have been purchased for all officers. So now officers will be able, once they go through the training, they'll be able to go out and do their own fingerprinting, whether it's cars, homes, whatever incident they have or crime, they'll be able to do it themselves. So that'll be a positive.
Wow.
Good.
So any questions?
You were not as fast as Patrick.
No.
But I do have a question, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Going back to your Take Me Home program.
Yes, ma'am.
Once this application is processed and in your office and all that, the individual will get some kind of identification bracelet or something, right?
That is correct.
Okay.
And so that's something that we have to look at, because I know we've talked about those rubber band type bracelets, but we're worried, okay, why did they take them off? Because, and now that I'm meeting with community members and they're giving me their advice and they're giving me their opinions, and the professionals are out there, the nurses are telling me, why did they lose them? You know, why did they pull them off? So we're really trying to find a way that how we can identify these individuals, whether it's maybe a little bracelet, that a clasp that has it where they can't take it off. But we are researching that. We're looking at other programs of what they may be utilizing. But if you have an idea, please share it with us. Share it with me, and I'd be more than glad, any of
Tattoo
you,
everybody,
on how we could really focus, because I
little
want them
tattoo.
to be able to, yeah, or tattoo it, right?
No.
Yes, ma'am, I appreciate
But
it.
seriously, that's a great program. I'm so glad you brought that to the table because,
Yes, ma'am.
you know, we need to take care of our elderly and disabled and those that are in need.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Great
Yes, please.
I think I was gonna ask you if you could email me, if you could email out this page again,
Yes, sir.
because for some reason it skipped a couple of lines here in the middle.
Oh, I apologize.
Well, yours is the same way. I think there's something wrong with it. Right here, it goes, yeah, it's in some kind of format, so it goes, we'll display the, you see, so there's, it might just be a line, but just so
Okay.
that if we share it with people, we have the full information. to give
No
them.
problem, sir.
So please, thank you very much.
I'd be
I think
more
it's
than
a great
glad.
program.
Thank you.
Thank you
Good
so
job.
much.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you, and we'll move on to agenda item 24, here status report on July 2021, month-end financial statements and summary of funds and delivery of July 2021 check registers, and discussion on sales tax revenues. And Mr.
It'll be myself. Hi, Mayor.
Hi,
We're gonna-
wow, that,
We don't have to worry about his voice, Karen.
A different voice. I was like, oh, that's not Vanessa.
We're gonna begin on Exhibit C.
do you mind introducing yourself so that
I
everyone?
apologize. I'm Gabriel Untitled. I'm interim finance director.
I was just saying, because this is your first time presenting financials
Yes.
to us, so welcome, and thank you for taking that on.
And we did ask him in the interest of time to kind of go quickly on the key
Yeah, I'll
points.
try.
Highlights.
He set the bar at a minute, so I'll
Yes,
be
he
out.
did. Yes, he did.
We're gonna start at Exhibit C, sales tax budget versus actual. This includes the month of June. June's collection was $473,770, or $23,770 above target. 2021 budget was $4,050,000, and we have actual of $4,151,350. So $101,350 over budget. Exhibit D, we have actual 2021 versus actual 2020. And in there, you'll see we have an increase of $48,062 over previous year to date. Going on to Exhibit F, we're going to look at revenues versus expenditures for all funds. General fund, we show a negative $204,899. Solid waste is $6,932. The utility fund is $509,040. The airport fund is negative $16,013, and that's with the transfer. The golf course fund is $25,296 with the transfer. Hotel occupancy is $110,156. And the multi-use complex is a negative $56,872 with the transfer. Two items I want to bring attention are the utility fund. You'll see the larger number, the 509,040. And things we looked into that was we were showing that we brought in $344,000 more in revenue than we did in previous year. And also we've been able to, Demetrio and his team has been able to cut back on chemicals. So we've saved $135,000 on expenses there.
Great.
The other item we wanted to point out was the expenses on the general fund, because we do show a negative 204,899. In the fiscal year 2021, January and July have 3 pay periods. So that's where the little blip is in the month for expenses. And that was my synopsis for July. Did you have any questions?
Council, any questions?
No, thank you.
Mr. Chris?
No.
No?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, just real quick. In regards to hotel occupancy tax, just real quick. How many payments have we received? Have we received 2, 3? Because we get those quarterly. That looks like about a 3 month.
I think the payments were due July 31st, so they're probably not really in there. It's probably just about 2.
It's probably just the 2?
Wait, no. Yes, so the third quarter is probably barely going to start coming in.
Thank you.
Mr. Molina?
No,
Mr. Barr?
thank you, Deborah.
Thank you.
Vanessa.
Mrs. Bowles?
No, thank you. Good.
I forgot, I already said sorry. All right, well, thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, Mike.
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion,
Me.
second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That was loud and clear, okay.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried, meeting adjourned.
All right.
9:03.